This is part 2 of our video on multiplying by a monomial. So we just did a couple of examples where we multiplied by a monomial. And then our last 2 questions here are application questions. So question number 2 says, write a simplified expression. So that means if we have like terms, we would collect them. If we have brackets, we would multiply them out. That's what the simplified part means. So write a simplified expression. Expression means we're not going to get an answer like 15 kilometers. We're going to get something that has x's in it. So write a simplified expression for the area of the following rectangle. And over here, there's a rectangle. Now, I didn't tell you, but I did tell you yesterday that the area of a rectangle is length times width. So in my shape, one of those sides is the length, one of them is the width. Does it matter which is which? Not really. I always think that the longer side is the length and the shorter side is the width, but it'll give us the same answer regardless of which was which. So area is length times width. I'm going to multiply these two together. So over here, I'm going to say my area is length 10x take away 11. And in order to show that those two terms came together, they need a bracket, right, to show that they're together. And then we are going to multiply that by 4x. So I'm going to use another bracket to show that we are multiplying by 4x. Now, we did an example very similar to this yesterday, and we said when you multiply two things, it doesn't matter which one you put first, right? For example, if I do 2 times 5, I get 10. If I do 5 times 2, I still get 10. It doesn't matter which number comes first. So you might find it easier if we put the 4x in front. So this is 4x times 10x minus 11. And the 10x minus 11 needs to stay in a bracket to show that those two numbers are together. Okay, that is an expression for the area, but we want a simplified expression for the area. So we are actually going to multiply this out. I am going to multiply 4x into the bracket by multiplying it by 10x and then multiplying it by negative 11. So my area is going to be 4x times 10x. So 4 times 10 is 40. And x times x, we are multiplying x by itself, so that is x squared. And then 4x times negative 11, I would do 4 times negative 11, which is negative 44. This one has an x, this one does not, so it's just negative 44x. So a simplified expression for the area would be 40x squared, take away 44x. Okay, there weren't any units in the question, so I don't need to worry about that. And I think we're going to move on to our last question, which is question number 3. So question number 3 says, a company made 8x shirts and sold them for 10x minus $9 each. Determine a simplified expression for their total revenue. And then there's a little formula here that says revenue is price times number sold. So revenue, if you are selling something, is the amount of money that you take in from your sales. So you can get revenue by taking how many things you sold times the price that you sold them for. So I'm going to start with the formula. It said that revenue, I don't want to write out revenue. I'm just going to write R, is the price. I'm looking at the formula that's just off to the side here, is the price. The price here is 10x minus $9. And I need a bracket to show that those are together. And then we're multiplying by the number that we sold. So I'm assuming they sold all of their shirts. So I am going to say that they sold 8x shirts. So we are going to multiply by 8x. And this is the same thing as last time. I would like to put the monomial, the single term, by itself in the front. So I'm just going to swap the order here and do 8x times 10x, take away 9. And it wants a simplified expression, which means I need to multiply this out. So I'm going to take 8x and multiply it by 10x and -9. So my revenue, or R for short, is 8x times 10x. So 8 times 10 is 80. So that is 80. And then x times x is x squared. And then I do 8x times -9. So 8 times -9 is -72. This one had an x, that one does not, so this is just 72x. So the expression for my revenue is 80x squared minus 72x. All right, there is one last question, and this question is a little bit of problem solving. So normally I would have you try to think about it and discuss it with your seat partner, but I'm not there today, so we're going to have to do it together. So this one says, calculate the total revenue if they sold each shirt for $21. So we want to calculate the total revenue if they sold each shirt for $21. So they're telling me that the price of the shirt was $21. And somehow I'm supposed to use that information to calculate my revenue. Now I know that revenue is price times number sold, so I now know that the price is $21, but I don't know how many they sold. So this is the problem-solving part of this question. I have a formula in part A for the revenue, but it has x's in it. It would really help if I knew what x was. So how could I figure out what the x is? Well, they told me that the price is $21. So I know that the price equals $21. I also know from the original question that the price was 10x minus 9. So I know that 10x minus 9 is going to equal $21. So I should be able to take that information and figure out what x equals, and then use that information to calculate my revenue. So we're going to start using the skills that we reviewed yesterday to see if we can calculate what x is if the price, 10x minus 9, is $21. So when I'm solving an equation, I always move any addition or subtraction that is not in a bracket. So I would start with that minus 9, and I would do the opposite and add 9 to both sides. When I do that, I don't touch the 10x. It was not a like term with the 9. 9 minus 9 is just 0. And then 21 plus 9 is 30. From here, I would divide both sides by 10 to cancel out that multiply by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1x, or just x. And 30 divided by 10 is 3. So I got that x equals 3. Does that mean their total revenue was $3? No, it does not mean their total revenue is $3. It means that when the price was $21, the value of x is 3, and I can calculate my revenue by putting 3 everywhere I see an x. So I'm going to calculate the revenue when x is 3. So my revenue is 80 times x, we're going to put in 3 squared, and then minus 72 times x, which is 3. We practiced this on the first day using our order of operations. So when I'm doing order of operations, the first thing we do are exponents. So I would start with that 3 to the power of 2. 3 squared is 9. So 3 times 3, that's 9. And then I still have minus 72 times 3. From there, I would move on to any multiplication or division. I do have 2 different things being multiplied, and because they're separated by a minus sign, I can actually do both of them at the same time. So I'm going to do 80 times 9, which is 720. And then I'm going to try negative 72 times 3, which is negative 216. So we are subtracting 216. And then all I need to do is 720 take away 216. And I get 504. Now, in this question, because it's actually a number that means something, I am going to write a very short little therefore. I'm going to say, therefore, the revenue is $504. Okay, well, that does it for our lesson on multiplying monomials. There are practice questions on the back that I would like you to try. And then maybe in about 10 or 15 minutes, you'll watch the next video on factoring, specifically common factoring. All right, happy practicing.